Es el momento de llamar a al siguiente panel, y con música ingresan Hugo Paredes, Andrew Scott, Satish Rao, Pieter van Schalkwyk y Petr Musilek a darnos este panel que le vamos a llamar Open Call. Ellos van a presentar trabajos seleccionados de la convocatoria Open Call con participantes de la industria. Disfruten este momento. Hugo, el pase es tuyo. Adelante.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on a Friday afternoon. I know it's a very challenging piece that we have to deal with, but with AC/DC, you know, it was a great starting point for this open call. Well, first of all, I'd like to just reinforce what is the purpose of this session. We are going to discuss cases that have created significant impact in the industry. Companies that have worked relentlessly to create something that is unique for their businesses, as our colleague just mentioned minutes ago, that creating real and measurable impact. So Open Call is basically a space in which we have decided with internal committee which companies have worked on projects and definitely initiatives which have created measurable impact in 4 areas: smart data management, sustainability, safety and connectivity, and last but not least, automation and AI. So we're going to review 3 cases that have been extensively deployed and now are, as I said, deployed in real action. We're not talking about something theoretical or something that could be deployed. These are projects that have been deployed, developed, and launched, and are creating a measurable impact. For us, as technology leaders, we need to focus on developing technology that is creating a real impact on our operations. So those are 3 cases. We're going to extensively review the information. We're going to show you guys a video about how these particular deployments work. Then we will discuss with our keynote speakers about the technologies that have been implemented, how we consider that these are really measurable and very good projects. And after that, well, actually, we're going to call the owners who have developed these strategies as well, initiatives. And then we'll declare the winner, because we have 3 cases, but the one with the highest impact will be an awarded one. No? We're going to recognize one of the cases as a winner for this open call. So having said that, I just want to reinforce once again the importance of this great Congress. You know, having our keynote speakers, it's a privilege for us. These gentlemen are extremely talented resources that have come to Peru and give us a lot of insights and is creating a significant momentum for us in terms of technology. We have the ability to be and sharing. I have the honor to share this stage with you guys. Thanks for that, and thanks for the Congress and the team who make you be here with us in Peru. So that's basically the introduction. I would like to call Michael Berrios from Anglo American. I don't know, where is Michael? Give him a round of applause. ¿Qué tal?
Hi, Michael.
So please, if we can share Michael's video. This is an interesting case, so it's better to just see it directly with the video instead of just describing it. So let's see the video, please.
Hola, mi nombre es Michael Berrios. Soy especialista de tecnologías en operación. Y hoy quiero compartir un caso de innovación ya implementado en nuestra operación que tuvo un impacto directo en seguridad, productividad y continuidad operacional. En una operación minera, con camiones autónomos y equipos críticos, el sistema GPS no es solo un sistema de apoyo, es un componente esencial para la seguridad y la continuidad del ciclo productivo. Las correcciones de posicionamiento permiten que nuestros camiones naveguen, mantengan distancias seguras y operen de forma autónoma dentro del Tajo. Tradicionalmente, estas correcciones GPS se distribuían desde la estación base mediante tráfico broadcast UDP hacia toda la flota. Con la flota autónoma operando en producción, comenzamos a observar eventos recurrentes asociados a la pérdida de correcciones GPS. Cuando un camión pierde la corrección de posicionamiento, Activa en nuestro sistema eventos 1536 y el sistema entra en modo seguro. Esto se traduce en reducciones de velocidad, detenciones inesperadas y en la activación de eventos de seguridad como los L4 Body on Avoidance, que son eventos que el sistema identifica como proximidad peligrosa. El origen estaba en cómo se distribuían las correcciones GPS hacia la flota. Nuestra limitación radicaba en 2 puntos. La estación base GPS no soporta escalar a múltiples destinos Unicast y el switch core de la red también tiene límites para administrar cientos de flujos Unicast. Frente a este escenario, entendimos que la solución no estaba en cambiar el GPS ni en rediseñar toda la red operacional, sino en implementar una tecnología diseñada para replicar flujos UDP de forma inteligente. Plixer Replicator recibe un único flujo de correcciones GPS y lo replica hacia múltiples destinos en Unicast, sin modificar la IP de origen del paquete. Para los sistemas de la flota, el tráfico sigue viendo exactamente igual, como si el origen fuera la estación base GPS. A diferencia de otras alternativas, Plixer no requiere reconfigurar la estación base cada vez que se agrega o se quita un camión o equipo auxiliar. Tampoco requiere cambios en los equipos a bordo de la flota ni en la configuración del software de gestión de flota. Funciona como un hub central de distribución Unicast, reduciendo la carga del GPS y simplificando completamente su administración. Lo disruptivo de esta innovación no es solo la tecnología en sí, es que permite resolver un problema histórico de confiabilidad GPS con una intervención mínima, totalmente transparente para la operación. Además, la arquitectura implementada sobre 2 máquinas virtuales permite alta disponibilidad, asegurando la continuidad en trabajos operativos sobre las VMs e incluso ante fallas. Una vez implementada la solución, el impacto en la operación fue inmediato y medible. Los primeros indicadores que analizamos fueron directamente los eventos asociados a la pérdida de correcciones GPS. En camiones autónomos logramos una reducción del 87% en los eventos 1536 relacionados con la pérdida de correcciones de posicionamiento. En paralelo, los eventos de seguridad L4 Body on Avoidance se redujeron en un 80% en flota autónoma. Este impacto no se limitó solo a los camiones autónomos. En los equipos TOP y Terrain, que son nuestros equipos de flota tripulada, el ratio de eventos L4 se redujo en un 56%, mejorando la estabilidad operacional y la seguridad en terreno. Estos resultados se tradujeron en menos detenciones inesperadas, menos reducciones de velocidad y una operación mucho más estable. Al mejorar la confiabilidad del GPS, mejoramos directamente la continuidad del ciclo productivo. Más allá de los indicadores técnicos, este caso de innovación se alineó directamente con los objetivos estratégicos del negocio. Al reducir eventos críticos de posicionamiento, mejoramos la seguridad operacional, disminuimos interrupciones no planificadas y aumentamos la continuidad del ciclo productivo. Esto se traduce en una operación más predecible, más eficiente y más segura para las personas y los equipos. Se aprovecha la infraestructura existente, sin reemplazos mayores, lo que la convierte en una solución sostenible en el tiempo. Este proyecto demuestra que la innovación no siempre requiere grandes cambios visibles. A veces una decisión técnica bien diseñada, nacida desde la operación, puede generar un impacto real y medible en seguridad, productividad y continuidad operacional. Gracias.
Excellent, Michael. Congratulations. So, based on what we have seen on the case, Andrew, what do you think could be considered great strategy to just continue working on these invisible technologies, improvements, and opportunities that we see? And in this particular case, with Michael's work on Anglo-American, could add a lot of value to just add more invisible actions that would be significant. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, well, it's fantastic sort of solving a problem that you had, so well done. Unfortunately, it probably was a problem you shouldn't have had to solve, right? So this is the, I guess, the challenge that we've got when systems are developed in isolation or in silos, as I mentioned. So I think continuing to work with the suppliers and work with all of the integrators and all of the sort of system providers, because we're building up more complexity in our sites, increasing the amount of systems. So in order to, I guess, prevent you having to do this again with other systems or other capabilities, is really highlighting the opportunity here to work in collaboration with the suppliers directly. So that way, next versions will be automatically integrated. And so another mine, especially as we get deeper, especially when we have other issues with GPS corrections, they don't have to go through the same thing that you've gone through. So, ideally, next time someone buys a system, they buy it in conjunction with all of the necessary technologies to prevent the challenges that you had. So I think it's a great opportunity to definitely, and thank you for sharing, because the more we share these types of solutions, the more others can take advantage and not have to go through the pain that you've gone through.
Great. So based on that, Peter, I will call Peter M, Peter V. So we have two Peters on the stage, so just don't get confused. So Peter, based on GPS connections and sensor data, we have seen that, Peter M for you, no, that are paramount for safety and productivity. So based on that, how do you consider AI application can add more value to this specific solution, taking in consideration that data, has been exploded dramatically in the sense that has been used positively to just create a significant impact on the case?
Thank you, Hugo, for this question. So to me, this project is really highlighting how important is data integrity for autonomous safety, whether it's system with AI or without AI. The reduction in GPS loss events is very important, and from my perspective, I'm always interested in the impact and the human side. It's ethical achievement for operational safety as well, right? It's not just KPI on the technological side. I really like the transparent nature of the solution which you came up with, because the replication flows without losing the information about the source. The IP is very important, because then it's traceable and auditable, right? What I would recommend is maybe to look also at the monitoring for something which we can perhaps call a latency fairness, right? We want to make sure that all the trucks at any location will be able to get this improved information, so we don't create some tiered system when some location within the pit will not be able to get that on time. And an additional potential use would be the black box use. And you may recall that I was criticizing the black box in ML, but this is the black box which can actually be very important if something happens, and hopefully it won't. Your system can probably provide information to go back and to understand what happened, why, if there was all the information available or not. So it's not necessarily specific to AI, but of course, the stronger data we have for any type of applications, including AI applications, the better the system can perform. Congratulations.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. So, Satish, what are your thoughts around these invisible solutions that could create, meaningful impact in terms of ROI? How we can just, as technology leaders, work on frameworks that could add value and create something that could be easily measured, and on an ROI perspective, of frameworks could be shared.
Yeah, but first, wonderful work, Michael and the team. Congratulations. So, great example, clever solution that decouples the positioning logic from hardware constraints, right? So well done. I really like the improvement in operational uptime. That's what this is about. Amazing results that you shared just now. So I think absolutely well done. These kinds of problems, as Hugo referred to, can sometimes, these are infrastructure, they're really enablers, and it often feels like a battle to get the funding for these kinds of solutions to implement them. They're really, really important. So perhaps a simple framework would be, one is just map out direct benefits. You already had many of those listed, like the 80% improvement, a reduction in the safety incidents. I think it's a step to map it to the dollar value benefit. because that's directly an uptime dividend that flows through to the bottom line of the company. So I think there's some direct benefits that you could create and map out and show. The second, and this is actually perhaps more important, is as modern mining starts to become more AI native and more autonomous or fully autonomous, these things are going to be extremely important enablers. You cannot have an AI native mine if the GPS heartbeat is irregular, right? So this is like a GPS heartbeat for the mine. So it has to be appropriate and correct. So I think both having direct measurement and value, as well as understanding it that it's a critical enabler to eventually unlock the multi-million-dollar opportunity in a fully autonomous mine. I think this becomes very important. And I'll leave with perhaps one last thought to take it to and build on what Andrew suggested, which is in terms of collaboration. I do think this is pre-competitive, that it's going to improve safety and performance for multiple mining companies. So consider getting this to an open source type of solution and let others build on it. I don't know how some of the other players in the ecosystem will feel about it, but these are areas where collaboration can truly unlock and everybody can benefit from that improved safety aspect and at the same time improve the solution. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.
Excellent, Satish. Thank you so much. Yeah. So last but not least, Peter B., what are the emerging challenges that you consider and best practices that could be deployed in these OT case in terms of what are the critical points that cannot be missed, especially on assuring data and their availability and for the business?
Yeah, and once again, well done. It's a great initiative. And I think one of the things that stood out for me on this is actually something that's not so visible. It's not a big, massive, visible project. It's actually those things that increase resilience, and that is a key aspect, especially if you start employing AI and AI agents on top of this. So it's not just about data and the security of data and the privacy, but it's also the underlying system in terms of how resilient it is in making sure that you can trust the system, the trustworthiness aspect. And again, I think it was really a clever infrastructure thinking rather than trying to go with sort of the next shiny object. Going back to what are the critical things that we need to do right as we put the governance and again, trustworthiness infrastructure in place to do this. So, yeah, great initiative from that perspective.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much. So Michael, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much for the words. This just proves that whenever we, as technology enablers, operations and governance are aligned, innovation isn't just a concept. Right? It can deliver measurable results on field, right? And that's our job. That's how we do things, right? So thank you very much.
Excellent. Giving him an applause to Michael. Definitely. Okay, Douglas Chavez, I don't know where he is. Please, if he can join us. Okay, we're going to review the second case that we have from Douglas Chavez from Quellaveco, American. Bienvenido. Welcome. ¿Qué tal? Sí. If we can have the video, please, for Douglas' case.
Hola, mi nombre es Eduardo de la Torre, soy ingeniero de control de procesos en Goldfields, en la operación Cerro Corona, ubicada en Cajamarca. En esta oportunidad quiero compartir con ustedes la experiencia que tenemos relacionada con la implementación de una estrategia de ciberseguridad para la tecnología operacional, enfocada
Hola, soy Douglas Chávez. Trabajo en el proyecto Callabeco por la empresa ANGLO. A continuación voy a presentar el caso de éxito de suministro de energía renovable 100% a nuestro almacén principal warehouse. El suministro de energía verde a nuestro warehouse ha sido clave para lograr la independencia energética mediante la implementación de paneles solares y banco de batería. Anteriormente, el almacén se alimentaba eléctricamente de dos grupos electrógenos a diésel, con la emisión de CO2 en grandes cantidades, altos costos de combustible y costo de mantenimiento. Asimismo, la contaminación sonora era muy elevada a valores superiores a 90 decibelios. Actualmente, los grupos electrógenos han quedado instalados solamente como un backup en caso de falla en los paneles solares. El contexto de este proyecto es que inicialmente se planteó alimentar eléctricamente este almacén a través de red eléctrica comercial. Sin embargo, la inversión era muy elevada debido a que la zona del almacén estaba muy alejada de la red eléctrica comercial. Otro factor en el cual se decidió implementar los paneles solares es que la ciudad o la área donde se encuentra este proyecto, que es cerca a Moquegua, posee un enorme potencial de energía solar. Otro factor era que este proyecto tenía que estar alineado a las metas del Plan de Minería Sostenible con emisiones cero al año 2040. La inversión de este proyecto ha sido prácticamente recuperada por los ahorros en costo de diésel, costo de mantenimiento, y también se ha mejorado mucho la confiabilidad del sistema eléctrico debido a que anteriormente teníamos varias fallas producto del estado de los grupos electrógenos. ¿Cuáles son los desafíos que hemos implementado o que hemos operado en este proyecto? Uno fue el tema logístico. Otro fue la puesta en servicio de esta nueva tecnología, considerando que ya estamos en una etapa de operación logística y teníamos que minimizar el impacto a las operaciones mediante corte de energía para poder implementar el nuevo sistema. Otro factor fue el uso de nuevas tecnologías en ambientes severos como en la minería. Un desafío importante también fue que los equipos tuvieron que adaptarse o mejorarse para cumplir las condiciones de seguridad de acuerdo al estándar de Callabeco. ¿Cuál es la implementación hecha a través de este sistema? Se instalaron 600 paneles solares encima del techo usando la estructura mecánica, para lo cual se tuvo que verificar que la estructura metálica del techo soportara ese peso. Se instalaron un container de 100 baterías de litio con su correspondiente sistema contra incendio. Adicional, se instalaron inversores para poder captar la energía de los paneles solares. Adicionalmente, se instaló un sistema contra incendio de acuerdo al estándar de Callabeco, y se instaló un tablero de transferencia automática de tal forma que permita conmutar la energía entre los grupos electrógenos existentes como backup y los paneles solares con sus baterías. Los KPIs obtenidos a la fecha se ha tenido un ahorro de emisiones de CO2 de 1.350 toneladas, que es un valor muy alto. Se ha ahorrado de consumir 136.000 galones de diésel, ahorros en costo de combustible o de mantenimiento de $500,000. Se eliminó la contaminación sonora, como lo había mencionado. Adicionalmente, se mejoró la confiabilidad del sistema eléctrico, y lo innovador de este proyecto es que todo ese sistema se monitorea y se controla a través de nuestro sistema SCADA, en el cual tenemos un operador en nuestro centro de control de energía que opera 24/7, de tal forma que permita predecir alguna falla. El ROI obtenido a la fecha de este proyecto es de 101%, lo cual es un valor muy alto. En conclusión, la transición a un suministro de energía 100% renovable ha eliminado impactos negativos asociados a los grupos electrógenos a diésel, mejorando la eficiencia operativa y optimizando la gestión energética mediante un sistema de monitoreo remoto.
Excellent, Douglas. It's incredible the broader goal that you guys have, to just reach zero emissions by 2040. Wow. An incredible challenge. So based on that, Satish, what do you think are the most critical and innovative technologies that can be integrated to just get a bigger scale? In this particular case, Douglas was fully engaged on a warehouse. But what do you consider could be the most applicable next steps to get a bigger scale?
Yeah, wow. Teams, again, Douglas and team, you've done really well. What a wonderful story. I think talk about it, share it, and market it internally, externally, which you are doing here. So congratulations. I really liked that whole integration of solar, renewables, and battery, right? So in order to scale this and become much bigger than where you started, I think you have to aim for something bigger too. So think bigger, position yourself for something bigger. Think of the green solution that you have as a green microgrid that you can then expand. And you could take it, you could actually scale it to different points. Maybe there's remote pumping stations that you could take the same concept to. But then, interestingly, how can you expand it to cover more and more of the mine? And why stop at the mine? Can you expand it beyond the mine as well and help with community needs for power, for example? There's examples in Chile where they've done that successfully, perhaps here in Peru as well. So that's an opportunity to think bigger. And with that come a whole bunch of other challenges. You get bigger challenges as well. But start with thinking about it as a modular green microgrid, including power for the community. One of the things I think from a long-term perspective that will be very interesting to bring in from a technology perspective is look at agentic AI for energy, where you might be able to predict the load and understand when power is needed, when are the peak demands for power, and try to match it with the availability from solar and wind. That way you're doing some kind of matching. And that's been done in other sectors. It's been done in Europe in the power sector, for example. So I think that would be very interesting if you're able to match autonomous charging with availability of solar and wind. If you can match crushing and other activities that need a lot of power to this, it's going to involve a lot of change management, and it's going to involve it has to be a significant program that brings in all of the people, process, technology opportunities, systems together. So it's not just about the technology. You'll have to go through a big cycle. But I think if you're aiming for 2040, those are the things that have to be on the table, and you have to put those on the right roadmap and build the enablers that let you get there. So I think this is a great start, but if you can aim bigger and think bigger and aim higher, there's no reason that you can't continue some of these activities. So great work.
Excellent, Satish. Thank you. So, Peter B., the project highlights the use of SCADA systems to try to anticipate and monitor failures. So, based on that, what is your take on how AI can work on just developing predictive capabilities of these complex renewable energy systems?
That was actually quite interesting. It is the first time that I see a project of this nature where they actually mention that they connected to the SCADA system. The interesting part is that looking at this from a broader scalability, and as we were saying, how do we now bring AI and agents and things into that? The additional challenge that you have is you now open up additional attack vectors by bringing in technology that does not come from the OT side of the business. When you look at OT technology, it's been designed, and we've always been really good at segregating and have firewalls and everything like that in place. Now we're bringing in batteries and chargers and inverters and things like that into this. So I think there's a role for AI to also be the guardian, to be able to sit over this and look at where are the risks, where are the potential. So don't just look at it from an optimization perspective, but when you scale out, I think there's a real opportunity to say, how can we use various types of AI? And we saw some great presentations on the security side, how AI is being applied. I think we need to, when we do these great initiatives, and what I loved about this, it's not, it touches safety, it touches social responsibility, it touches cost, all of those, but it also touches security. I think from that perspective, look at AI when you scale out to also how can it help be that guardian that help you make sure that you don't compromise other operational systems.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. So, Andrew, looking ahead to 2040, what are your thoughts around breakthrough technologies that can create that path and also contribute with the scale that Satish mentioned should be deployed?
Yeah, well, congratulations. It was great to see. And as I said earlier, when you're at altitude in particular, your solar potential is much greater. So really good to see that. But I also, I totally agree with Satish in that you think about scaling. One thing you did notice with the flyover, there's a lot of dust already collecting on those solar panels. So that's something I think by working with the solar providers, talk to them about integrating opportunities. There are already cleaning robots, but there's actually some emerging technology that actually uses electrostatic properties to actually prevent the dust from even settling on the solar panel. So, but ideally, that technology should be integrated into the manufacture of the solar panels. So as you scale, if you can actually have, and maybe you could sort of push the solar panel providers or solar technology providers to have a altitude, dust-resistant, scalable capability. And the technology is more or less here and now, so it's about bringing those things together. But totally, the other thing about it is there's actually a mine that I used to work on a very long time ago, which is closed and is now producing energy into the grid. So that's another thing that could be, it may not be 2040, but it might be if you've got infrastructure that can then potentially feed into a national grid providing electricity well past the life of the mine. So I would definitely be thinking about those legacy opportunities. So, but yeah, it's a great initiative and well done.
Good. So Peter, based on what we have discussed and the challenges that we understand that these infrastructure renewable energy projects have, what do you consider could be something that could be applicably done in terms of methodology or collaborative frameworks to just de-risk the issue of not having the energy availability? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts around that?
So again, let me start by congratulating you on this project. It's very interesting. It really shows that we can build green infrastructure, in this case energy infrastructure for AI, because otherwise that would not be really responsible AI if we were powering that with a dirty power, right? So it's a great connection in this sense as well. I also like, as a side note, the fact that you really are eliminating noise pollution big time, because again, it's very socially fair, because then the workers otherwise would be really affected by the noise in their working conditions. One option which I see how this can be scaled and how we can actually take advantage of potentially surplus power, which can be there depending on how much we are going to use. We can think about developing edge computing hubs. We talked about edge and cloud today, and many things can be done on the edge computing node. So you can power those and even do some of the more demanding computation on site, right? Take advantage of that availability. So that to me is one extra possibility how we can really reduce the carbon footprint of the mine or keep it the same, but having the extra computing power for running more demanding tasks on site.
Perfect. Excellent. Douglas, any final comments from your side?
Yes. I was reading Peter Musilek. You are electrical engineer like me. Yeah. You are from ALBERTA University of Canada. And I have a question like electrical engineer. I have a challenge in energy in data center because data center nowadays the electrical consumption is increasing every year, and I was reading in other countries it's a big problem to supply energy with data center. In this next month, we need to install a main data center in a city. I need to improve new energy supply to this data center. But I was asking me what is the future, the best way to improve, to supply energy with this data center. In Moquegua is a city that is a project Abeco. Moquegua have a high potential in solar energy. It's like Chile, Atacama Desert. It's like that. And what can you suggest me to supply energy with new data center in the future?
No, I think that the using of renewable energy is very important for that. But another thing which is quite often undervalued or underestimated is the ability to control the load by proper timing. It's like today, electric vehicles we are able to manage the load better if we can schedule them, if we can convince the users that and incentivize them. So similarly, in operation of the data centers, I think that a lot can be done by educating the users and providing algorithmic solutions to better timing of the tasks and how they can be executed.
Okay.
And if I can jump in as well. And if I can jump in as well to answer that. So it really depends on what the data center is going to do. What kinds of functions is it going to provide? Yeah. If it's a data center that's going to develop a lot of AI models, training, inference, that kind of a data center, you're going to need 99.9999% uptime for power. Right. And so the concern then will be, how do you get that base load power that you need? And so you're going to have long duration energy storage needs, whether it's 4 hours, 8. In the US and other countries, they're looking at 4 to 8 hours now. So that changes quite a bit in terms of what energy mix you're going to have to consider. So I think depending on the function of that data center, if you're going to need 5 nines reliability and uptime for power, you're going to have to consider all of those things. So long duration energy storage, you're going to also have to consider the appropriate base load mix. And I know you're blessed with solar, but what provides great base load is geothermal. If you look at North America, the discussion is almost entirely on geothermal at the moment. And SMRs, Andrew mentioned SMRs. So I think at some point, those should be on the table for discussion and evaluating the trade-offs. There are many pros and cons, and probably not enough time to get into it, perhaps for the drinks break later.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments for everybody. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Applause for Douglas.
Thank you.
Gracias. Okay, let's continue with the third case. Unfortunately, Eduardo de la Torre from Goldfields cannot be with us this afternoon. So maybe what we can do is just see the video and make some comments about it. So we can put the video, please.
Hola, mi nombre es Eduardo de la Torre, soy ingeniero de control de procesos en Goldfields en la Operación Cerro Corona, ubicada en Cajamarca. En esta oportunidad quiero compartir con ustedes la experiencia que tenemos relacionada con la implementación de una estrategia de ciberseguridad para la tecnología operacional, enfocada básicamente en fortalecer tanto la continuidad como también la resiliencia de nuestro sistema de control. La idea es mostrarles cómo hemos ido evolucionando de la infraestructura del sistema de control para mejorar no solamente la seguridad, sino también la disponibilidad. Para empezar, veamos primero la arquitectura general del sistema de control. Lo importante aquí no es cada red en particular, sino el concepto general, el de hecho de mantener separados los entornos tanto de negocio, de integración y de control de procesos. Esta separación permite controlar mejor las comunicaciones entre redes y proteger los distintos sistemas que operan directamente con el proceso. Esto fue uno de los primeros pasos para construir nuestra arquitectura ordenada y asegurar el entorno OT. Una vez que la arquitectura ya está segmentada, el siguiente paso fue tener la visibilidad de lo que ocurre dentro de la red. Para ello, nosotros implementamos capacidades de recolección y de análisis de eventos que ayudan a identificar comportamientos inusuales, y mejoraron también las capacidades de respuesta ante incidentes de seguridad. Esto permitió tener un mayor control sobre el estado de seguridad del entorno OT en general, y además también del monitoreo. Otro aspecto importante que tuvimos fue mejorar la resiliencia de la infraestructura del sistema de control. Para ello, en este slide, por ejemplo, muestro cómo la arquitectura de virtualización del sistema de control ha llegado a abarcar cambios importantes. Principalmente fue migrar desde los servidores físicos dedicados hacia una infraestructura donde las estaciones del sistema de control se ejecutan directamente desde máquinas virtuales sobre infraestructuras redundantes. Esto ha permitido mejorar la disponibilidad del sistema, también facilitar el mantenimiento y reducir los tiempos de recuperación. En otras palabras, el sistema de control pasa de apoyarse en una infraestructura más flexible y resiliente. Todas estas han formado parte de un proceso de evolución en ciberseguridad dentro de la operación. Por ejemplo, en el siguiente gráfico muestro cómo hemos evolucionado la estrategia de ciberseguridad en la operación, desde el trabajo en la segmentación de la red industrial, y también hemos ido incorporando controles adicionales para proteger el acceso, las comunicaciones dentro del entorno. También más adelante hemos integrado capacidades de monitoreo de seguridad, como les comentaba, la mejora de visibilidad de sistemas. También hemos avanzado con el hecho de virtualizar y modernizar la infraestructura general del sistema de control. Esto ha reflejado cómo la seguridad industrial se construye en forma progresiva. En resumen, fortalecer la ciberseguridad en entornos industriales es un proceso que se construye paso a paso, y la combinación tanto de la segmentación de red, monitoreo de seguridad y modernización de la infraestructura nos ha permitido mejorar la resiliencia del sistema de control sin afectar la operación. Muchas gracias.
Okay, so Satish, what do you consider are the strategic shifts that have to be considered going beyond a traditional segmentation for OT systems?
Yeah, great question. I'd say, first of all, again, well done to the team. What a wonderful step-by-step process to build industrial-level security based on a very fundamental segmentation of the business, if I may say that. So I think, how could they move beyond that segmentation? So I could connect it back to lots of the discussions we've had and something I talked about earlier as well. And I'll get to that in a minute. But we should, I think, first step is start with zero trust. Just because a sensor is on the network, don't assume that it's going to be safe and trusted. So every sensor or agent on the network continually monitor, continually make sure that it's verified, right? So start there. Second, then, if you do find an anomaly somewhere in a sensor, use agentic AI to isolate it until the human in the loop comes in and sees, okay, well, this isn't that bad. Let me go ahead and release it and fix it, all taken care of. But that's what agentic AI is really good at, is anomaly detection and taking the right actions. So don't take anything drastic, wait for the human in the loop, but at least isolate it right away so that if there's something bad happening, that it doesn't propagate further. Right. So I think those would be some great things to take forward into what's already a very good roadmap and a step-by-step process.
A step-by-step approach.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So Andrew, what do you consider in terms of hello? What do you consider in terms of AI and machine learning could be proactive approaches and try to predict what could happen on the cybersecurity arena for OT environments?
Yeah, that's a good question, and well done to the team. I think one thing that this highlights is actually a resilience approach. So, and going forward, and actually it's a key design parameter you should be designing for when you're looking at your cybersecurity capability is for resilience. So going forward, I would definitely suggest further, so building on what Satish said, but going beyond, so understanding what's happening in the general area, what are the potential attacks, and trying to predict potential attacks. Participate in any sharing possible. So like the groups like MMISAC and other groups where there's a proactive sharing of signatures and threats and understanding the attack landscape. So be proactive from that perspective, because unfortunately at the moment with the politicization of minerals, cyber attacks on mining companies and anything to do with the mining industry has increased significantly.
Right.
So being aware of the situation awareness in which we're operating in is definitely important. And I think going forward, again, to build on what Satish says, is just as we increase complexity on our sites, we're going to increase our attack surface. Right. So I think the more resilient, the more awareness and use of AI technologies to be able to predict behavior, detect anomalies, detect intrusions, detect attacks and prevent those attacks, or at least be resilient to those attacks. Isolate, and be able to survive. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Excellent, thank you so much. So building on that, Peter B., looking ahead of basically what Andrew shared, what are the next frontiers in building hyper-resilient OT infrastructures?
We need to make them agentic ready. And that's been our experience in putting this in at scale in oil and gas, is what they've started doing with the segmentation and the virtualization. These are critical elements so that you can scale them out, but you also need to have, you need to start building in what the control plane will be, where the agents live in your DCS layer. Are you going to let them be at level 3, level 3.5? So all of those are becoming critical things in terms of how we do this in future. And again, taking the approach that they've done in terms of, first of all, segmenting and then virtualizing so that you can create almost containers of risk as you learn how to deploy this at scale in the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much. No, it's not working. It's working, yeah. Okay, so Peter, last but not least. What do you think could be the cultural component of these OT environments? We have learned and hear in the audience of many cases that have been taking time for companies to just get in from the IT world into the OT world and really connect an OT network. So in that sense, what would be the cultural aspects that an organization has to develop to make it meaningful?
Yeah, very interesting project again. I would say that this is a very good example and demonstration that we cannot have systems which are fair and responsible from this perspective if they are vulnerable. So by removing that vulnerability, by providing tools for safeguarding, providing guardrails against the malicious attacks, it's very important. I really like that the transparency is basically introduced here through visibility, because if we can keep track of event collection and virtualization, as other people mentioned before, then we can basically have a clear audit trail and we can go back and understand what happened and how things can be justified, and for the current case and the future as well. What I think would be interesting from the perspective of AI-specific threats, those methods which were more general, I would say, anomaly detection, detecting of unusual behavior, can be evolved to specifically deal with data poisoning or model drift specifically for AI. So that would be one recommendation which I would have. And similarly to one of the recommendations to previous project, this can also be something which can be perhaps democratized and shared in form of open source. This is very interesting approach which would deserve to be widely used.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Peter. Well, those were our 3 cases. There were 3 projects. We're almost running out of time, and I just want to be fair with the timekeeper. But something that also we need to recognize is that based on the 3 cases, the internal committee had made a final call to decide which one could be the most important and impacting case. Considering safety, productivity, and operational continuity, the committee has declared that Michael Berrios from Anglo American is being the winning case. So let's give him an applause for Michael. So if we can come, Michael here, and also Douglas, so we can take a picture with you and get the award. If you can give them the award, it would be great. Felicitaciones.
Congratulations.
Felicitaciones. Excelente, buen análisis, buena ingeniería, bien pensado. Van a hacerte entrega. Pueden subir. Sí, van a subir a entregarles, a dejarles unas diplomas, una foto y a continuación vamos a tener unas palabras de cierre y luego vamos a ir a un brindis de... Es breve. Gracias. Para que la foto la tengan con su... Les van a entregar una diploma, Hugo. There's a diploma for all of you, so you can take your pictures better with your diploma. Okay, thank you. Douglas. Douglas. Douglas, ¿puedes subir al escenario, por favor? Gracias. Vamos a darte un reconocimiento por el trabajo magnífico, muy amable. Excelente, felicitaciones a los participantes, felicitaciones al ganador y and thank you so much to all of you, my friends.